Oops, boy, it's a hot one today. It's gonna be a real one. This topic today is gonna get a little steamy off in here. Once again, it's your boy Coach. It's T Strong from the best seat on the bench, brought to you by the recruits. Hey, listen, it's a hot one. I'm not even gonna talk about the topic yet before I bring in my co-host once again. It's the hot, the steamy, the fiery. It's my little brother OC. Come on in, talk to the fellas, talk to the people.
What's going on, everybody? Hey, tonight's topic is is lava hot, baby. We got Hawaii on fire, and I'm ready and willing to give y'all all of the tea, the business, so forth and so on. The
Gotcha. Hey,
work.
listen, and because it's so hot, listen, I'm going to dedicate this show here to my man, Frankie Beverly, who has finally decided to take the hat off and go ahead and retire. So, one time before we get into the topic, before I let go,
Boom,
hey,
boom, boom,
hey,
boom, 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 boom.
before I let go, hey. But anyway, man, let's go ahead and jump on this thing. But that's what coaches do, man. We have a good time all the time. But go ahead and check us out, man. Make sure you like us and check us out on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, the whole nine, definitely on YouTube, okay? Now, getting into this topic. Everybody's talking about it, so we might as well chime in as well. Listen, the name, image, likeness, okay? It is the NIL leveling the plane. And I'll start with this right here, just try to throw some numbers out there. My man that just signed with University of Miami, Jaden Rashada, $9.5 million. That's what that young man got. But guess what? He turned down 11 mil from the University of Florida. So one big up to the 305 and the we picked up a huge ball player there. But then that's nothing compared to my man Nico, who's an 8.0 mil on the NIL. Arch Manning, the Manning family. He's sitting somewhere between 12 to 15 mil. Malachi Nelson, 10 to 12 mil at USC. And guess what? We know about the Buffs. So Coach Prime's sons, who knows how much money that they're getting. So we know that those dudes are rocking it. They've been getting the NIL last year, talking about the watch and all that stuff they had going on with the shades, the whole nine. But without further ado, let's let OC jump in on the NIL. What you think, bro?
Hey, I'm just going to stop. I'm going to start out by saying this much. There is no deal without a contractual obligation. So there's a deal within a deal. So $12.5 million is not guaranteed. Just like a 4-year scholarship is not guaranteed. Everybody that has played in the athletic collegiate sports knows that, hey, sometimes everything doesn't add up. I'm gonna say this much. I said that the NIL deal was a bad idea from about 2 years ago. Simply because, just topic number one. Number one is because you give a 17, 18-year-old child the ability to have millions of dollars with no type of recourse or any type of guidance, it's going to be a bad idea. We saw what happened in Colorado. They was rocking the chains, NIL, big deal. Who gives a... Oh, sorry. Who cares? Y'all was 3 and 6 or 4, whatever.
They was bowl eligible, which means they won 6.
But they did not do as well as the flashy chain and the NIL. And that was Shador. Your child is not Deion Sanders' son. Listen to the names that he just called. It was Deion Sanders' son, Arch Manning son. They're getting the big deals. Your son is not going to get the big deal. Now, let me piggyback off that by saying this much. Now, that mentality has went into the NFL combine because Caleb Williams don't even want to show up to an NFL combine. He's got his NIL deal. He's got his money. I'm sorry. It's killing the sport. These kids should be paid, but they should be paid with parameters. Okay? How do you show up to an NFL combine and literally say, I'm not there to perform? You see me on tape. I got millions. You heard my NIL deal, and I'm good. Angel Reese national champion of the LSU Tigers women's basketball team. She got her NIL deal and lost her mind. It took a great coach to bring her back to say, you're going to be a great athlete after this.
Right.
But I don't care about your NIL deal.
That's it.
So my point is the NIL deal needs to be refurbished, needs to have some type of stimulation, because the average child that's out there trying to get a professional contract, name, image, and likeness, sorry, that's not your child, because the people that's making the big money is Deion Sanders' son, a Hall of Fame player, Arch Manning, Bryce Young, which denied the NIL deal because he said his parents didn't have to he didn't have to benefit from the NIL deal. If I'm right, am I right or wrong, Troy?
No, you're right. And where I'm at though is I agree with you in the fact that the NIL needs to have parameters. It need to have some rules behind it. But to answer the question, is the NIL leveling the playing? The answer is no. And this is what I mean by it's not leveling the plane. Why? Because it has flipped the plane. The plane flying upside down, and it's crashing, because the plane now is being ran by the players. The players are now have total control, and they're jumping inside the transfer portal. And in the transfer portal, they're telling coaches, well, if you ain't got an NIL deal for me, then I'm going somewhere else. So now they have the maneuverability to be able to move within the NCAA based on how much money they're going to get in the NIL. And the NCAA has no recourse and literally cannot do anything about it. So there's no governing body to really govern the NIL deals and how they're maneuvering.
And they're hopping in the transfer portals and they're absolute garbage.
Correct. And what happens though?
Right. Come on.
But this is the problem. This is why the NIL was established, because the age of NFL players had reduced in the last 5 to 7 years by 7 years. The average age of an NFL player was somewhere between 29 to 34 years old. It is now dropped all the way down to 24 years old. You're talking about guys who get into the league and have a 1 to 2 year career max. And that's because of the young guys that's coming behind them that's able to leave out before their senior year. And those guys are pro ready because the league has changed how it plays, just like all the other leagues now, from baseball to basketball, football, all of them. They're changing their rules. And guess what? These guys are the speedsters, and they can just use their raw talents. They're able to lead college because the college game is played almost identical to the NFL game. So the transition is very easy. So now what they've done is they're now pouring money at these guys and girls and women in the college level to keep them in college. Because the number one reason for going professional was what? I got to get that bag. I'm going to get that bag. So now somebody like Caleb Williams, who could have left last year, he's like, nope, I'm going to stay around another year, collect this bag, and then go and be one of the best quarterbacks in the draft. Because now this is a quarterback's draft. Someone gave him some good advice. Wait another year, be in the quarterback's draft, which is the one that's coming up, and the fact that a lot of quarterbacks in the league have either gotten too old or they're moving them out the place where they're in. So that's what the NIL is doing, and it's working for some aspects, but now it needs to be regulated. And what I mean by regulated is this right here, because I got to correct you on something. When they're getting this money is guaranteed. So they can leave and then now still collect that NIL. But the difference is, and here's where the problem comes in, those guys who get NIL money and then go to the league, they have to pay that money back. So that's what hit a couple guys earlier. They thought they were home free. They got to the league, and they come to find out that contract says that it was money given to them until they got to the league or until they served out their certain amount of years under that NIL. But that's what this is about. And it's going to really show its ugly head after this next couple of years, because the 6-year guys, the 7-year guys from COVID is over. This is the last year of that group of players. So now this group is coming out, which is probably the most collegiate athletes that will be coming out all at one time. ever in life, and you never see that ever again. And then now we'll get back to the normal mainstream of what NCAA look like. The 4-year athlete, the four-year athlete, playing athlete. If they get hurt or family situation, whatever, they get that 5th year back like they did before. But if these guys are making that kind of money, they're less likely to move and come on up to the NFL, or even like my man Baycock that played in North Carolina Tar Heels. He stayed for another year, and he is not an NBA player. He's going to make money overseas and stuff like that, but he will not play in the NBA. He'll be a G League guy overseas, things of that nature. But guess what? He's had an NIL deal at Carolina for the last 3 years, which means now he has built generational wealth for his family in college.
Yeah, and I can literally just hoopla, and we can applaud all the generational wealth. But the last 2 years, name me 2 people that have been on the NIL deal that have done anything significant in their professional sport.
In the pros.
In the pros.
Oh, Chase Young, the quarterback,
Chase
Joe Burrows.
Young? Did you say Chase Young?
Yeah.
The nobody from
no, I'm sorry, no, Jamar Chase. I'm sorry, the wide receiver, Jamar Chase. And then then Burrows. You also got a couple of other ones. And then, like I say, this group here are the crash test dummies. These are the ones that's going to the league, and you're going to see success out of them because there are quarterbacks in this group. There are DBs in this group. They're wide receivers like Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison, without energy, without injuries, this dude is going to be
once again. He is Marvin Harrison Jr.
Correct.
He don't need an NIL deal.
Correct.
So what I'm saying is that the kids that think that they're going to get these $1 million NIL deals, it's bullshit. It's BS.
Right. But you never have another Reggie Bush again. I promise you that. There will never be another Reggie Bush.
Why doesn't Reggie Bush get his Heisman Trophy back and his national championship back when they're paying people now?
And he will. It's coming. I promise you. With this NIL stuff, the way it's out there, once they learn how to regulate it.
Y'all got OC started, boy.
Yeah. Once they learn how to regulate it and get in the right position, I promise you, Reggie's going to be one of those guys that they're going to go ahead and retract that stuff, and he'll get his awards. Now, whether or not he wants it or not, I mean, that's totally up to him, But I can never, ever, ever say that I'm not all for the NIL because of the fact there's been so many guys that have been disrespected and treated wrong prior to NIL deals when they're giving out their merchandise and all kind of stuff like that. I mean, I'm one of them. When I was in college, a Division I AA program, Bethune-Cookman, my jersey is being sold at the mall. I ain't seen none of that money, but the college got it. NCAA got a piece of it, and that's a small school. So when you start talking about the Florida States, the UConns, the UCLAs, the Dukes, North Carolinas of the world, there's a lot of money out there they can get these kids, these young adults.
I would love for them to give these kids the money, but there has to be a certain distribution on how it's given to them.
And they are. And that's
the kid, Monty Williams, the All-American, Mr. Big Time from Memphis basketball player that got caught up in the court case. I won't go into detail. He had his NIL deal at 16 years old.
Correct.
Bought himself a house and then signed to go to the University of Memphis. Then end up in a courtroom, and he had his mansion with his boys and everything. His parents couldn't do anything about it because he had his NIL deal, and then now he ends up in the courtroom.
Correct. Like every story, you're gonna have some horror stories out there. You hate to say it. 7 out of 10 of them gonna be the ones that's our color because we don't have they don't have the guidance at home that you and I were lucky enough to grow up with. And like you say, the professional athletes' sons and daughters have that guidance that they were able to pull from to really thrive within this NFL NIL type situation. And Caleb, like I say, Caleb Williams is another one because his dad said, if the draft comes up and there's a team that I do not like and do not want my son to go to, he won't come out. Why? We don't need the money. I don't need the money.
Thank you.
Guess what? That's the bargaining chip. And
he said he's not going to the Columbine.
Right, but
I'm not. He said I don't have to throw another pass.
But I totally agree with these families having control now. They're not being slave labored like they were in the past, and they have control. Yes, it does need to be regulated, and I agree with some of the talk that's going on where they're saying that the NIL, if you sign NIL deal with a school or sign to go to a school because of an NIL deal, you can't instantly go into the transfer portal. You must at least stay 2 years or so at that school. And I agree with that. But the NIL has done something that a lot of people don't realize is it's made some significant coaches that have impacted lives and really have made a major contributing part to athletics, made them go ahead and step out.
But you as a coach, you have to deal with the fact that this kid has an NIL deal that's worth more than your contract.
Correct.
And he's going to come at you with our other topic. He's going to come at you and say, well, I'm not doing what you got to say. Put the ball in my hand. Right. How does that affect your coaching? How does that affect your defense coordinator or, your coach staff as far as basketball?
Right. Once again, the NFL, the professional ranks has now trickled its way down to college. So now as a college coach, which is why Nick Saban got out of it, you're not coaching any longer. You're just managing players.
We're talking about a 16-year-old that had an NIL deal.
Correct, right. Well, that was dead wrong. And that technically has been regulated now. You can't give 16, 17-year-olds NIL deals, which is why they're questioning if high schoolers can get it. So that's still a question. So right now you cannot. You must be in college getting the NCAA a scholarship or part of the NCAA organization in order to get it. So those are the regulations that need to be put in place. But I'm never going to sit here and say I don't agree with the NIL, and I do. Answering the question, think that it has leveled the playing, if not given the player control, which is to me is not a bad thing from seeing how they were treated before.
Yeah, but you're giving a 17-year-old player control versus grown men like Grant Hill that won the national championship, came out of Duke. They deserve, because I was buying Grant Hill jerseys at Duke.
Right.
They deserve that, well, while they're going into the NBA, but a 16-year-old kid, you trying to hand out NIL deals because he got over 1 million on YouTube. It's getting ridiculous.
Right. And it doesn't change.
It's stupid and it's not methodical. I'm sorry.
It doesn't change. Everything's getting a little younger nowadays, but the NIL process needs to also look into what professional ranks did when they gave those 19-year-olds all that money and they taught them how to now manage their money. They put them with bankers. They put them with people to kind of educate them and as well as guide them in that process, as well as with those 16, 17-year-olds, they should also incorporate their parents in that educational process. So it's about education, but when you're putting young adults in situations that they can build generational wealth for their family, especially when you start talking about the Black and brown individuals where they have been subjected and persecuted to a certain extent where they were never even put in a position to have generational wealth. And that's what I'm talking about. You put people in a position where they can succeed financially, 9 times out of 10, they won't fail too bad. They won't fall too hard.
Well, if anybody's listening, look at Maurice Claret. That boy was a 17, 18-year-old phenomenon and should have won the Heisman twice at Ohio State. Maurice Claret. And he said that all that contract, when you sign and you get involved with that, you got to get a lawyer and hopefully you will get some part of that back. So when I'm saying as far as the NIL deal, leveling the playing field, you just got to be careful, man. I don't like believe fully into it, but hey, to each own.
Yeah, I don't believe fully in it as well because I said portions of it need to be regulated. I keep saying that doggone word.
Regulated.
My man, listen, boy, we actually went over time today, but I thought that we're going to stretch this one out and go as far as we could because, once again, one of those topics we could talk about all day long. But
we knew it was going to be heated.
I'm telling you, man, from the best seat on the bench, man, listen, the coach's point of view, hey, Salute. NIL has leveled the playing. we'll see on the next episode. Once again, best seat on the bench. Coming to you from the recruits. Go check us out and like us.
All right.
No.
Dudes.